Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Tomorrow night, UFC 284 begins, and I cannot wait. I have been waking up every single morning more and more excited knowing that I am one day closer to this fight. I know there's been a lot of talk about the lack of promotion for this fight. I don't really pay attention to that stuff. I think that the promotion and, it's exciting to watch and it's fun, but it's more or less for the casual audience. I've known about this fight for a long time. I've been excited about this fight for a long time. I get the criticism for the lack of promotion, but I don't want to talk about that. I do, however, though, want to give this fight the attention that I think it deserves on my end. I did a picks video. It got little to no views compared to my other videos, which is fine. I'm not complaining. But I also tried to keep that video shorter. I was unable to do so. So by the time I made it to the last pick of the night, I was not able to give this fight the time that it deserved in that video. So I'm going to do a video today expressly and wholly faced around that fight. All of the ideas and stuff that have been flowing through my head about this fight, I'm just going to sort of think out loud and mention the stuff that I've been thinking about. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comments. But before we get into all that, I would greatly appreciate like and subscribe, please and thank you. I'm going to thank you in advance. Thank you very much for your subscription. Greatly appreciate it. And let's get into it. So, wow, dude. I can't remember the last time I was actually this excited for a fight. Probably Adesanya versus Pereira. I was pretty excited for that fight because I had followed Pereira's kickboxing career, so it was pretty interesting to see him now in the UFC. But there's something about this fight, man. Volkanovski is one of my favorite guys right now, I think. And you know what? He earned it too, because when he first beat Max Holloway, I was a little disappointed, I gotta be honest. It's hard not to like Max Holloway. His voice can be shrill at times, and some of the stuff he says can be like a little cringe or on the actual like childish side. I don't know, the cupcakes thing was a little weird, but the style of fight and everything about him, I loved watching him fight. So when Volkanovski came in and beat him by decision in a, not the most entertaining fight, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But since then, this man has given, well, at least in my opinion, given you no reason to hate him. He is an incredible guy. It seems like super down to earth, doesn't, there's just, what bad can you say about him, honestly? But another thing that this fight week has brought to light, in my opinion, is, and I'm not shitting on Khabib because there's no reason to shit on Khabib. I'm not one of those guys that picks either Conor or Khabib or anything like that. I don't really like Conor. I'm not a huge fan of Khabib. Oh, my bad there. Yeah, it is what it is. But Islam, dude, he's different than Khabib. And I don't mean in his fight style, because there's differences in the fight style as well. But goddamn, dude, he's actually pretty funny, I think. In my opinion, anyways, especially considering the, relative lack of English that he has. He's got good jokes. He's got a good sense of humor. Has no problem being the butt end of a joke. He's always smiling, laughing. He seems like a much more fun guy to be around than Khabib, anyways, in my opinion. Maybe Khabib jokes around with them all when they're in the gym, and when it's fight time, he's just dead serious. But he seems to have a lot more, I don't want to say he's more personable, I think. And I think that this fight week has done a good job at highlighting that. But so I'll be excited for either guy. This is just an exciting fight. I have been thinking a lot about what I said at the end of my video, on my picks video, where I said that I'm picking Islam, but I hope that Volkanovski proves me wrong, and I wanted to pick Volkanovski very badly, but I need a good pick record on this next card, because the last one was not so great. We went 6-5 on the last one. That's the worst card that I've had so far this year, and I would I want to get my percentages back. So I'm going with who I think is the most likely. This is not the card for me to pick a crazy upset. So, with that being said, though, one of the reasons I gave was because I think the lack of ways that Volkanovski can win this fight. I said that his best opportunity to win this fight would be obviously striking, but by KO or TKO, because I think that Islam will be able to do enough during the rounds, be able to have enough control time or pressure to secure rounds. I mean, we don't know yet. Maybe Volk proves me wrong. I really hope he does, man. I like the guy a lot. But something that I said is that I don't know if Volkanovski can knock him out, and that was one of the reasons why I picked against him, because Islam's a bigger dude, and Volk hasn't really been finishing guys at 145. Obviously, he finished the Korean Zombie, but that was a good stoppage, but it wasn't like he knocked him down. It wasn't a brutal KO or anything like that, right? The ref had just essentially seen enough. The Korean Zombie had nothing for Volkanovski, and Volkanovski was just butchering him. Before that, the last finish of his was Chad Mendes. And it was also Chad Mendes' last fight in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. And it was due to body shots. It wasn't like a one-punch KO. So I thought, well, if he's not finishing dudes at featherweight, he's not going to be finishing guys at lightweight. But then I realized, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, I don't feel like it's fair to criticize Volkanovski for not getting finishes, because if we look at the guys that he's been facing recently, Max Holloway has never been knocked down, ever, by anybody. And he's fought Dustin Poirier at lightweight and got cracked multiple times in that fight. He is damn near impossible to put down. Like, Dustin Poirier is one of the hardest hitting dudes at 155 right now. And Max Holloway just took that shit on the chin and kept going. So I don't think it's fair to criticize him for not being able to finish Max Holloway. And honestly, his last fight against Max Holloway looked a hell of a lot more dominant than Dustin Poirier's fight with Max Holloway, who is again a 155er. And Volkanovski he dealt out a lot of damage in that fight. So I don't think that's on him or a reflection of his power. And then we look at another guy that he fought, and Brian Ortega, who, same thing, dude. I can't remember the last time Ortega's been knocked down. I don't know if he has been knocked down. Maybe I'm not remembering a fight or something, but at least in recent memory, I can't remember him ever being knocked down. Not against Holloway, when Holloway put that beating on him. I mean, he's essentially, like, if we're talking about chins here, he's the Mexican Holloway. He's Mexican Holloway. He fucking took a brutal beating in that Max Holloway fight. And he wilted, but he kept coming. And I think it stopped in the corner, round 4, right? So his corner had seen enough. The ref had seen enough, all of it. Like, he took a bad beating. And then in his fight against Volkanovski, he also took a horrible, horrible beating. And he never quits, man. He tried to lock up that submission. He tried to lock up another submission later on. He constantly comes forward, and he's damn near impossible to put away. Both stoppages, I'm pretty sure, did Volk stop him in the corner, or did it go to decision? But either way, the last time I remember him being finished, besides the Yair Rodriguez fight, was Max Holloway in the corner. And then the guy that he did end up finishing with I think it was Herb Dean, he'd just seen enough, because it was such a brutal fucking beating, was a guy literally nicknamed the Zombie, who's known for having a chin. So I don't think it's fair to criticize his KO power based on him not starching dudes when we look at the last few guys that he's faced, and they've all been notorious for having ridiculous chins. And I think about the way that, and I'm not shitting on them, this is just from what I see, and maybe this is just smart defense, and they simply don't want to engage. They're not taking any risk. The way that the Dagestani wrestlers seem to move away from strikes is almost with a panic. Like, they back up much farther than needed, and they kind of like throw their arms out there like they're waving away. Like Habib will back up like 10 feet. If you go back and just watch when guys are throwing strikes at them, they look like they're almost like scared of it. Like Habib was almost blinking, moving away. And Islam kind of does the same thing. Now, he didn't really show this to me in the Charles Oliveira matchup, but I've seen it before. But with that being said, though, Islam Makhachev is a much, in my opinion, a much better, cleaner, more polished striker than Habib ever was, ever. Islam's got great kicks, and his punches are not the cleanest in the world. He throws his hooks with like the ridge hand a bit, which is fine. That's a legit technique, but he's not turning it over the way that you're supposed to turn over a hook. And he still managed to drop Charles Oliveira. Mind you, Charles Oliveira gets dropped by every single opponent that he's had. Recently, since he's been fighting the top of the division. But Islam going on about how he wants to knock out Volkanovski so bad makes me, and then maybe he's just talking shit and he's trying to get in Volk's head and make him think that he's going to stand and trade with him, not be, so that he's not worried about the takedown, and then here comes the takedown. But I could see him, pardon me, actually, being confident enough in his abilities that he could knock out Alexander Volkanovski. And if he does do that, in my opinion, Volkanovski's chances go up significantly. Because here's how I could see that happening. Volkanovski is extremely hard to hit. Max Holloway peppers dudes. Breaks a record for most significant strikes landed in every fight he's in, basically. And I know that's an exaggeration, but he's broken that record twice, I think. And goddamn, dude. Volk looked clean as fuck at the end of that fight. Like, Max had a real hard time hitting him. And I know Islam's a different kind of striker. Like, Islam's got better kicks than Holloway. Point blank, period. Holloway might have a nice little spinning back kick that he throws sometimes. Doesn't have a whole lot of pop on it. And it's okay. He dropped Volkanovski with a head kick in their second fight. But it wasn't that bad. Like, Volk kind of just took a knee, popped back up. If Islam lands with his shin on your head, I don't think you're just taking a knee. But what I could see happening is if Islam actually is determined that he is going to strike with Volkanovski, what that will do, in my opinion, is he's going to get peppered. He's going to get leg kicked. He's going to give Volkanovski, a chance to wreck plan B if his wrestling is his plan B, because he'll take out the leg. The takedowns won't be as explosive. He'll take Volk is one of the most sophisticated strikers in the whole of the UFC, and it's actually incredible to watch, because you look at a guy like Israel Adesanya. I would put Volkanovski, in terms of sophisticated striking, I would put Volkanovski right up there with Israel Adesanya. The difference being, though, is that Israel Adesanya has been doing this a hell of a lot longer than Alexander Volkanovski has. And that's what gives me hope in Volko, to be able to stop takedowns, to be able to get up from takedowns, to be able to get out of bad positions. Is the way that this guy has learned the game and the amount of time that he has is unmatched. Especially in the striking department, man. So, if Islam's determined to stand with him, and he's getting his legs peppered, he's getting his face peppered, he's getting body peppered, eventually he'll start shooting takedowns, but they won't be the way that they would be if it was his plan A. They'll be more or less panic takedowns. He'll be like, shit, I'm getting peppered up here. I need to get this fight to the ground. And I think that the more panicked he is, the better chance Volkanovski has to defend them, because he'll shoot from farther out, from places that he probably shouldn't be shooting from. He'll rush in, like panic shooting. We've all seen it. We've all seen what panic shots look like. those will make it way easier for Volkanovski to defend, get back up, and continue peppering Islam with shots. I honestly, dude, I am so fucking excited for this fight because I think talent level, skill level, all of it. This is like top of the food chain, in my opinion. I'm more excited for this than the John Jones-Cyril Gane fight. I'm more excited for this fight than I am for the Alex Pereira-Izzy matchup. That's a fun fight to watch because they're both extremely high-level kickboxers. And so we more or less know how that fight's going to play out. We don't necessarily know the winner, right? But we know they're going to kickbox, essentially. There might be some grappling involved, but for the most part, it's going to be a kickboxing fight in 4-ounce gloves in an octagon cage. This fight, a lot of people think that there's already a foregone conclusion. They think that, you know, it's already been written. I saw a poll on YouTube. I can't remember. I think it might have been MMA Junkie that posted it, and it was asking people for their picks in the main event. And just for shits and giggles, I was like, I'll vote on this. I want to, because, you know, when you vote on it, they show you the numbers. So I picked Volkanovski just for fun. I wanted to see. I think it was like 66 to 69% had picked Islam. So that's, you know, that's a significant amount of people that are writing off Volkanovski. And I did pick Islam, but I wish that I had the balls to pick Volkanovski. And I think that he has a way better chance than a lot of people are giving him. The size is not going to be an issue. He rolls with Craig Jones on a regular basis. Craig Jones, when he fights competes in jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's competed against Gordon Ryan at, I don't know, I'm pretty sure he weighs in usually at like 190 around there. Like, he's a big boy. And like I said in my picks video, I wish that Volko would have had Craig Jones fly out Nicky Rodriguez for takedown defense, because Nicky Rodriguez, a very decorated wrestler, a very decorated grappler, they call him, the black belt slayer, because when he had his blue belt under John Danaher, he was beating black belts in competition. Giant man, freak athlete. Would have been phenomenal for Volkanovski to have him shooting takedowns, drilling takedown defense, drilling getting back up against a guy who's like 260 or 250. I don't know what he weighs. He's fucking giant. Go look him up on Instagram. He's shredded as well. Savage. Super freak. And I know that people, but they're not them, you know. Dagestanis are good, and especially this group of them are very good at grappling. There's no denying that. They're incredible grapplers. But they're not unbeatable. They're not, I don't know how else to put it, man. They are not so far above Craig Jones is one of the best submission grapplers on the face of the planet. And I know Khabib likes to say, if Sambo was easy, it would be called jiu-jitsu. We don't see, if Sambo is so good and they could just absolutely dominate guys in jiu-jitsu just with their own style, because it would still apply to jiu-jitsu, why don't we ever see any of them go into like Abu Dhabi or ADCC or any of this shit? Well, Abu Dhabi is ADCC, but you know what I'm saying. Craig Jones submitted Gilbert Burns in like less than a minute in their submission grappling fight. Like, that's a big welterweight who Hamzat was afraid to initiate in the grappling department with. Craig Jones heel hooked him like that. Nothing. Just fucking done deal. So, dude, if Volko pulls off a heel hook, could you imagine that? Imagine if Volko leg locks this guy. Craig Jones, that's his specialty. He's a leg locker. There was one matchup, you should look it up if you have time. He gets this one dude's leg in a heel hook. I can't remember who it was that he was competing against, but he broke the guy's ankle. And the guy just wouldn't tap, because a lot of those Brazilian dudes are like, leg locks don't work, I'm not tapping to it. And then his ankle was, Craig Jones was looking at him like, hey, do you want to stop, dude? And the guy was like, no, I'm fine. And so they just kept going. Well, this dude's ankle, his foot was just like flopping all over the ground. It was fucking crazy. Dude's legit grappler, man. So Volkanovski's going to be prepared for the worst positions. Like, the worst. And don't think that he has zero chance, man. When I picked this fight, I said, I think, in my opinion, it was 55 Islam, 45 Volkanovski. Since all the thoughts I've had go in my head, I've been thinking about it. It might even be closer to me. It might even be like a 52-48 type situation. Now, maybe if Islam goes out there, finishes him like that, then you guys can come back and tell me I'm an idiot. But, man, I can't fucking wait for this fight. Lack of promotion or not, I don't give a shit. I'm so fucking excited. And also, before I go, this is going to be my last point. The Aussie crowd's incredible. And I'm not saying that that's going to play a factor into it. I appreciate you guys. Aussie crowd, one of the best crowds in all of MMA ever. You guys always fucking go crazy. And I love it. So, these are my thoughts, or were my thoughts, on this fight coming up tomorrow night that I am extremely excited for. I'm fucking shaking, dude. I can't wait. Like and subscribe. I'm going to thank you in advance. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good one. I'm going to do a video press conference reaction. So, see you in the next one. Bye-bye.